7 spine-chilling small-town horrors, secrets revealed, unexplained terrors haunt us all. The town of Maplewood was the stuff of quaint postcards, trees lined with twinkling lights, laughter echoing in the streets, and smiles exchanged over picket fences. But beneath the surface, darkness clung to the shadows, lurking, waiting for the unguarded moment to strike. Clara, a single mother working late shifts at the gas station, felt that heaviness each night as she drove home along the lonely back roads. It wasn't just exhaustion that left her heart racing, it was fear, a primal awareness that the world she had to shield her son Jake from was closer than they thought. Tonight felt different, colder. The headlights caught the edges of the trees while her phone buzzed incessantly. When she glanced down, her blood ran cold. A series of chilling messages flashed across her screen, alluding to urban legends about missing children, whispered in hushed tones around town. Clara dismissed it as just another round of gossip, until eerie memories resurfaced. Families shunned, names whispered in the grocery store, eyes darting away when she asked questions. "Mom?" Jake's soft voice broke the silence, sending a shiver through her. "Why do I keep seeing Mr. Lorne at the edge of the woods? He looks different." Her stomach twisted. Mr. Lorne had always been friendly, a familiar face walking his dog. But had he been watching them too? The idea chilled Clara to her core. She pressed her foot harder on the gas, an instinct pulling her forward. Shadows slid along the road. The forest seemed to breathe with an unseen life. Then came the whispers, barely audible over the sound of the engine. "They're coming." Panic clawed at her throat, making it hard to breathe. Had she imagined that? Was it fatigue playing tricks on her mind? No, Jake's unease was real. He had no reason to lie. As she pulled into their driveway, fear blossomed in her chest. She needed to talk to the sheriff to make sense of what was happening. But Sheriff Thompson had never been the same since he took office. Once a man of the people, now he wore an oppressive cloak of suspicion, a fierce protector of the town's good reputation, tarnished by the whispers of poverty and despair. Clara had reason to doubt him. He turned his back on families that fell through the cracks, families like hers. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Days spent searching for answers unraveled Clara's trust further. Each child's face that flashed on the nightly news echoed in her mind. She couldn't shake the idea that the sheriff wasn't here to protect, but to bury secrets, ones that could swallow them whole. A tension mounted between them during her visits, a dangerous dance shadowed by veiled accusations. One evening, the moon hung like a harbinger. She stood toe-to-toe with him in the cramped office he had long filled with old cases and dark memories. His voice dripped with condescension as he scratched at something in a file. Clara had pieced together whispers about disappearances, voices tangled with desperation. "Ask why they go missing, Sheriff. Don't just accept it." His eyes darkened. "You don't want to go digging where you don't belong." The shadows grew deeper. Just as Clara felt she could strike a blow against the facade, her heart raced. A distant rustle stirred in the woods, the call of something far more sinister. The weight of Maplewood's dark secrets pressed down around her. Clara gripped Jake's hand tighter, realizing the true fight for their lives was only beginning. A familiar face emerged from the darkness, sending icy dread coursing through her veins. She felt it then, a whisper brushing against her ear, a voice from history itself. "There's nowhere to hide." Clara's breath hitched as Mr. Lorne emerged fully from the shadows, his silhouette twisted and unnatural, as if the night itself had claimed him. The air between them crackled with a static charge, an unspoken agreement that teetered on the brink of disaster. Jake clung to her side, his little body trembling. "What do you want?" Clara's voice came out shaky, betraying her fear. The old man's eyes glinted in the dim light, reflecting something unnatural. It was the kind of gaze that made her stomach drop and her limbs feel heavy. "We need to talk, Clara," he said, his voice a low rumble dragging across gravel. His familiarity twisted into something menacing. Where had the friendly neighbor gone? "What do you mean, we?" she retorted, pulling Jake closer. "I don't want anything to do with you." Mr. Lorne took a step forward, a wolf closing in on its prey. "You're asking the wrong questions," he hissed. "They want the truth buried. If you seek it, they'll come for you, like they did for the others." Others. The word echoed ominously in her mind, swirling with painful memories of kids going missing, their faces forever frozen on milk cartons and in family photos. That gnawing doubt she tried so hard to ignore clawed back to life, threatening to swallow her whole. "Leave us alone!" Jake cried, wide-eyed. His voice startled Clara into action, and she stepped back, dragging her son with her. But Mr. Lorne's presence seemed to expand like a suffocating fog, darker, menacing. "It's too late for that, Clara. You can't escape what's already here," he warned, glancing past her towards the woods where shadows seemed to dance, beckoning. "Let's go, Jake," Clara urged, panic surging as she yanked her son's hand. But Mr. Lorne's presence seemed to expand like a suffocating fog, darker, menacing. "It's too late for that, Clara. You can't escape what's already here," he warned, glancing past her towards the woods where shadows seemed to dance, beckoning. "Let's go, Jake," Clara urged, panic surging as she yanked her son's hand, striving to pull him away from the confronting shadow. She felt a tug at her mind, a haunting whisper that resonated with dread. But as they turned, a cold wind whipped around them, the tree's branches creaking ominously, forming gnarled fingers that pointed towards the darkness. Behind her, Clara heard a soft chuckle from Mr. Lorne, a sound that tiptoed along her spine, raising the hair on her neck. As they reached the car, Clara's heart thundered in her chest. She fumbled with the keys, her hands shaking. "Close your eyes, Jake," she whispered fiercely. Her instincts screamed to shield him from whatever lurked beyond the headlights, dancing invisibly at the edges of the woods. Just then, the phone in her pocket buzzed violently, vibrating like a warning bell. She pulled it out, light flooding her heart with dread. The screen displayed another chilling message. "They know about you." The car door slammed shut, the sense of safety fragmented. Clara's breath came in gasps, panic clawing at her throat as she unlocked the car, tugging Jake inside. A part of her wanted to flee, to drive far from Maplewood, yet the weight of the dark legacy held her hostage. The engine roared to life, but before she could pull away, a blinding flash lit the woods behind them. Clara squinted, heart racing, terror surging anew as she caught the fleeting outline of what appeared to be dozens of figures moving just beyond the tree line, watching, waiting. "What are they?" Jake whispered, eyes wide. Clara's heart sank as she steadied her voice. "I don't know, honey, but we need to leave, now." But the road beckoned with the unsettling familiarity of despair. As she backed out onto the darkened street, Clara felt eyes piercing into her from the depths of the woods, promises of nightmares lingering around every corner. The moment they escaped the driveway, she knew this was only the beginning. The chilling whispers hadn't faded. Her fear was just the first chapter. "Mom, are they coming?" Jake's voice quivered, innocent and terrified. Clara gripped the wheel tighter, the looming shadows whispering against the wind. They're always watching. And deep in her heart, a chilling realization crystallized. Whatever hunted them was just behind the veil of the ordinary, and the truth lurked in the corners of Maplewood, ready to consume them whole. As they drove on, Clara forced herself to look ahead, knowing that each turn they took was bound by the threads of the town's dark destiny. What had Mr. Lorne hinted at, and what truth would they uncover hidden in the seemingly peaceful streets? She could only hope they would find safety before the darkness engulfed them entirely. But secrets have a way of clawing their way to the surface, especially in a town like Maplewood. The car jerked as Clara sped down the empty street, her foot pressing the gas pedal as though it were her lifeline. The darkness closed in around them, each flicker of the headlights revealing more. Disturbing shapes at the edges of the road, twisted trees that looked like they were reaching for the car, shadows that seemed to breathe and shift with malice. "Mom, please drive faster!" Jake's voice echoed with panic, urging her to escape the unseen pursuers. Clara's heart raced in rhythm with the throbbing engine, but she couldn't shake the feeling that whatever lurked in the night was never far behind. A quick glance in the rearview mirror froze her blood. There, in the distance, a gathering of pale figures emerged, moving unhurriedly like a nightmare creeping into focus. Their faces were indistinct, ghostly patches that sent shivers down her spine, and she tore her gaze back to the road, desperate not to look again. What are they?" Jake's trembling voice cut through the thickening tension. "I don't know, Jake. Just hold on." Clara's voice wobbled, revealing the crack forming in her facade. Her mind raced. She needed answers. Whatever Mr. Lorne had hinted at, whatever the warning he tried to convey, it felt closer now, a puzzle piece falling into place that she longed to reject. She recalled stories whispered among neighbors about children going missing, families torn apart. Had those figures come for them? With a sudden jolt, guilt washed over her. She had been too caught up in her own world, too consumed with routine to notice the change in the air. The town had shifted. Clara felt it beneath her skin, a darkness settling in deeper than a mere shadow. "Mom," Jake whispered again, his voice now a threadbare whisper. "What do we do?" "I don't know, honey," she managed, fighting back tears, "but we can't stop now." Behind her, the figures broke into a run, moving swiftly, fluidly, their limbs distorting unnaturally with each stride. Clara's grip tightened on the wheel as her pulse quickened. "Don't look back!" she shouted desperately, feeling the oppressive weight of fear suffocating her. But just as instinct clawed at her to speed away, her headlights caught a glimpse of something else, an old, decrepit sign swinging wildly in the wind. Maplewood Cemetery. The name sent ice coursing through her veins. This wasn't just any town, it was a mausoleum of buried secrets. Suddenly, everything coalesced in her mind. The warnings, the names whispered in the night, the pulse of the town itself. What if the truth was buried in the very ground beneath them? Clara swallowed hard, the fear now mixing with determination. "Jake, we need to get to the cemetery." "What?" Jake exclaimed, bewildered. "We need to find the truth. It's our only chance." Clara could barely recognize her own voice, raw and urgent. Driving headlong into danger felt reckless, but something pulled her towards that darkened ground, like a magnet drawing her nearer. "Mom, please, they're coming." The shadows raced behind them, blurred movements in the night, but Clara took a deep breath, trying to quell the tightening knot of panic in her stomach. "Trust me, Jake. I know it sounds crazy, but I think it's the only way to save us." With a sharp turn, she headed towards the cemetery, feeling the adrenaline spike as they hurtled through the entrance gate, the car's headlights revealing crumbling tombstones and a chilling silence that hung in the air. But as they rolled deeper within the cemetery, a dreadful realization sank in. The shadows behind them escalated from figures to a mass, pulsing and undulating together, demanding to reclaim their dead. The air thickened, and Clara's heart sank as she contemplated the weight of what awaited them. "Mom, do we have to get out?" Jake's voice trembled, puncturing the silence in dread. "We'll just look. We have to," she insisted, her resolve wavering as the oppressive darkness loomed. The car's engine idled ominously, the trees forming a tight barrier around them. What would they uncover in this place? What horrors truly waited beneath the gravestones? As Clara apprehensively opened the door, a gust of wind howled through the cemetery, resonating with whispered warnings. She instinctively grasped Jake's hand, the heaviness of certainty crashing down around them. What unspeakable truths waited for them amongst the tombstones in Maplewood? From the shadows, a raspy voice called, "You shouldn't have come here." Clara's hand froze at the door handle, a cold sweat trickling down her back. "What was that?" Jake whispered, his eyes wide, reflecting terror. "I don't know," Clara replied, heart pounding. The raspy voice echoed through the air, a warning that felt laced with an unnatural hunger. The shadows shifted, flickering like pages from a forgotten tale, whispering secrets no living soul should ever hear. "Please, we have to go back," Jake pleaded, tugging at her arm, desperation visible on his trembling face. "No, we can't. We need answers." She took a deep breath, forcing herself to step out of the car, joined by the insistent creaking of the old door. The chill in the air wrapped around them like a suffocating shroud. The yard spread out before them, littered with overgrown weeds that thrived in neglect, the tombstones like sentinels keeping watch over the dead. Moonlight spilled between the headstones, illuminating haunting inscriptions, names and dates that echoed long-forgotten stories. "Mom, I feel sick," Jake's voice wavered as he stepped closer to his mother, his small frame trembling beneath the weight of dread. "We'll be quick, okay? We just need to look around, see if there's anything that can help us figure this out." But even as she said it, Clara could feel the haunting presence crawling up her spine, her instincts screaming at her to flee. As they ventured further inside, the air thickened. They edged past weathered stones, each telling a tale of sorrow, loss, children, mothers, lives cut short. But there was something else, an undercurrent of restless energy pulsating through the ground beneath their feet. Could they be buried without peace? "Look, there!" Jake suddenly shouted, pointing. Clara followed his gaze to a large, cracked headstone half sunk into the earth. The name was barely legible, but it sent a chill through her. Edward Lorne. What does it mean? Jake's voice trembled. "Mr. Lorne?" Clara echoed, her heart racing. The revelation sent a wave of unease crashing over her. This was the man who had warned them. What connection could he possibly have to this place? "This doesn't make sense," Clara muttered, stepping closer to the stone. As her fingers brushed against the cold surface, a rush of bitterness enveloped her, a feeling of despair clawing from the earth. Suddenly, the wind picked up, howling through the cemetery like tortured souls spilling their anguish. Clara's heart raced. "Jake, we should—" But it was too late. The temperature dropped, and a backbone of dread washed over them. From behind the tombstones, ghostly figures began to coalesce, shadowy forms materializing, their faces smeared with sorrow and rage. "What's happening?" Jake screamed, clinging to Clara's leg. "We need to go, now!" As she yanked him away from the gravestone, the figures surged forth, moving with an eerie grace, ash-gray faces contorted in ghastly expressions. Clara felt the ground tremble beneath her as it reverberated with their unholy whispers, voices rising to a crescendo that clawed at her sanity. "Your time is here," echoed like thunder among them. Clara's heart raced, a blaring alarm suffocating her reason. They had come searching for truth, but it felt like they were awakening something far worse. "Back to the car!" Clara shouted, dragging Jake along. They sprinted towards the vehicle, but the shadows twisted in front of them, eager to claim their prey, limbs prolonging, stretching toward the light. The headlights flickered as they reached the car, panic overtaking clarity. "Mom, we can't die here," Jake cried, his small voice mixing with the approaching murmurings. "I won't let that happen." Clara's voice surged with fierce determination. But would they escape? Would the secrets buried in Maplewood Cemetery be their undoing? As they jumped inside, Clara slammed the door shut. She fumbled for the keys, her hands shaking uncontrollably. Was it too late? A heavy thud resounded on the roof, reverberating down to the chassis. Clara's breath caught in her throat. The figures were here. "Drive, Mom," Jake urged, eyes bulging in fear. But Clara was stuck, paralyzed by horror. What would they have to do to survive the night? What had she unearthed in this cursed place? As she finally turned the key, the engine roared to life. There was no turning back now. But what awaited them in the night beyond the gates? "Clara," a disembodied voice whispered from outside, chilling her to the core. "You're not leaving with the truth." The darkness pressed down, hungry and relentless, daring them to search for answers. Would they uncover the town's horrible secret, or would the shadows claim them instead? The engine's growl filled the silence, a feeble barrier against the whispers that clawed at the car windows. Clara's breath came ragged, her fingers trembling against the cold steering wheel. As the headlights flickered, a morbid tableau unfolded before her. A congregation of shadows flickering in the periphery, haunting and relentless. "Clara!" Jake cried, his small hand shaking on his knees. "We have to go!" "I know." Her voice sharp, she turned the key in the ignition, hoping against hope. The headlights blazed to life, illuminating what remained of the cemetery's serene gloom. But the figures surged, coiling like smoke born of rage, flickering just beyond the reach of light. Clara's instincts screamed at her to flee, but guilt pinned her down like a heavy weight. "Mom, what do they want?" Jake asked, a quiver in his voice, eyes darting from shadow to shadow. I think they want us to understand." The uncertainty in Clara's voice morphed into something darker, a tremor of fear laced with regret. Was this what Edward Lorne was trying to warn them about? Suddenly, the ground beneath them shook with a bone-rattling tremor, and the whispers escalated into a discordant choir, rising with every heartbeat. "Find us," they begged, their voices a twisted mixture of sorrow and anger. Clara clamped her hands over her ears to drown them out. "We can't stay here, Jake. Buckle up." With a surge of adrenaline, she slammed her foot down on the gas. The car lunged forward, tires screeching against the gravel, the shadows cracking and splintering like brittle paper as they raced out of the cemetery. But the relief was short-lived. As they turned onto the dim street, Clara dared a glance in the rearview mirror. Shadows flowed behind them like a thick fog, an unquenchable entity driving into pursuit, unwilling to be left behind. "Mom," Jake whimpered, pressing his small face against the window. They're following us." "Hold on tight," Clara yelled, her pulse pounding like a war drum. She took a sharp left, the tires protesting against the sudden turn, hope mingling with desperation. With every twist of the road, the shadows morphed, their features sharpening, faces contorting into grimaces of fury. "Why won't they leave us alone?" Jake shouted, terror seeping through his voice. Clara steered deeper into the heart of Maplewood, desperate to lose them. But the town felt alive, each street a mirror to the cemetery's pain. The night thickened, trees leaning toward the car, skeletal fingers reaching, almost as if they were pulling her into an embrace of darkness. The headlights illuminated a long-abandoned house, its windows shattered, an inviting invitation or a cursed warning. The memories of the small town filtered through her mind, whispers of mysterious disappearances, flickers of what could have once been happiness, replaced now by corruption. Unconsciously, she slowed, the urge to see overtaking her fear. "I'm just going to look, just for a moment." "Mom, please don't," Jake protested, his eyes wide with panic. But Clara couldn't help herself. The house stood as a monument, beckoning secrets she didn't understand. The door creaked open, as if anticipating her intrusion. She stepped out, the cold air clawing at her skin, the shadows whispering sweet nothings in her ear. As Clara moved carefully toward the home, Jake bolted upright in his seat, panic manifesting as he yelled, "Mom, don't leave me!" Something in his voice snapped her from her daze. She ran back to the car, terror overwhelming all logic. But the shadows had grown bolder, stretching toward her, defiantly alive. "Get away!" she screamed, heart racing, feeling a raw energy pulsating through her veins. As she yanked open the car door, Clara spotted movement behind her, a figure emerging from the house, gaunt and shrouded in the mist of the night. It stepped into the light, revealing a face that didn't seem to belong to any earthly realm. "Find me," it rasped, eyes burning with a desperate hunger. "You must find me." "Clara!" Jake shrieked, the fear in his tone igniting a survival instinct deep within her. Without thinking, Clara dove into the car, slamming the door shut, grabbing the keys once again. But before she could turn the ignition, the car trembled, the roof resounding with a terrible thud. Something was trying to get in. What had they awakened, and would they survive the wrath of the shadows? Clara's heart raced as she screamed for Jake to hold on, the entire night shifting toward a confrontation with a truth they may not be ready to face. But just as she turned the key, the voice echoed one last time amid the chaos. "You cannot escape." The chilling promise left Clara gasping, fear clawing at her throat as her world began to tremble once more. What was lurking just beyond the veil, waiting for them to uncover the secrets best left buried? Clara's heart raced. The shadows pressed against the car like a heavy fog, and the pounding on the roof only intensified her dread. She barely registered Jake's whimper beside her, his small body trembling like a leaf in a storm. She had to act, had to escape this nightmare that seemed to swallow the world whole. "Hold on!" she shouted, turning the ignition. The engine sputtered, hesitating, just as her lungs felt constricted, like the shadows were squeezing the air from her. Desperation clawed at her insides, while the haunting whispers swirled around them. "Find us." The engine finally roared, answering her silent plea. Slamming her foot down on the gas, the tires screamed against the gravel, launching the car forward. The headlights cut through the darkness like a knife, momentarily parting the encroaching shadows. "Mom, look out!" Jake cried, pointing ahead with terror-sparked eyes. Clara's heart dropped as she locked on to the figure in the road, a man, gaunt and pale as if pulled from the depths of a grave, eyes hollow yet brimming with an insatiable hunger. She swerved, narrowly avoiding him, a gut-wrenching chill washing over her as she caught a glimpse of the twisted smile on his face. They barreled past the figure, but the road began to feel alive, shifting and pulsating beneath them as if the ground itself were breathing. The whispers crescendoed into a deafening cacophony, drowning out all thoughts but one: escape. "Where are we going?" Jake whimpered, tears glistening in his wide eyes. "Anywhere but here," Clara gasped, her knuckles white against the steering wheel. The familiar streets of Maplewood twisted and turned, all leading back to darkness, to the shadows that dared to follow them. As she raced, the familiar became foreign. The rusted playground that once echoed with laughter was now an eerie silhouette. The battered grill of the diner now looked like a gaping mouth, ready to swallow them whole. Each flash of light brought new, distorted figures lurking just out of sight. Suddenly, the headlights flickered, casting both of them into darkness for brief seconds. When they came back to life, an unsettling sight lay before her. The car was surrounded, every direction cloaked in shadows. "Mom, they're everywhere!" Jake trembled, his voice choking with fear. eyes darting to the movement outside. What do they want? The uncertainty stung Clara more than her fear. She pushed the gas pedal down harder, but the shadows pressed closer, coiling around them like hungry serpents, while the whispers grew louder. Now they were chanting, "Find us, find us." She turned sharply, aiming for the outskirts of town, heart pounding against her ribcage. The trees closed in around them, branches curling and scratching at the car like accusing fingers. What if we can't lose them? Jake's voice trembled, uncertainty biting harder than the cold air. We will. Clara forced a smile, but it was brittle. The shadows danced just outside the beams of light, swarming, relentless. Each time she glanced in the rearview mirror, chilling faces peered back, hollow eyes boring into her soul. Desperation surged within her as she spotted the old service road, overgrown and barely visible. It beckoned, a sliver of hope. Hang on! She veered sharply, tires crunching over debris, the shadows swirling thicker. A sudden lurch sent the car bouncing as Clara fought for control. Was this a path to safety or deeper into their doom? "Please, please let this work," she whispered under her breath. But as they sped along the road, the whispers became chaotic, growing more frenzied. "Don't leave us behind! Find us!" they howled. Before she could process it, the ground cracked beneath them, and the car jolted violently. Clara gripped the wheel, eyes widened in horror as they screamed down the road, a slope descending into an abyss. "Clara!" Jake shouted, terror flashing through his eyes. The car skidded to a halt, teetering at the edge, wheels dangling over nothingness. Clara's heart thundered in her ears as the shadows surged around them, a writhing mass, desperate to reach the two of them. "What do we do?" Jake cried, tears slipping down his cheeks. Clara's heart raced while the air thickened with despair. The shadows laughed as they pressed closer, a sinister serenade of doom encircling them. "Find us," the whispers begged, a haunting symphony echoing in her mind, the unending pull of the unknown. Suddenly, Clara's resolve hardened. With a desperate glance at Jake, she made a choice. "We have to face them. Whatever this is, we can't run anymore." But as she prepared to open the door, the shadows paused, holding their breath, as if waiting for her next move. Clara's pulse quickened with anticipation, realizing their next steps could seal their fate. What would they uncover if they dared to confront the darkness? Would they find what the shadows sought, or would the depths reveal horrors too terrible to comprehend? Clara pushed the door handle, her heart thundering in her chest like a warning drum. It felt like an age before she could gather enough courage to twist the knob and swing the door open. A gust of icy wind pierced the confines of the car, sending a chill through her. The whispers intensified, clawing at her sanity. "Find us! Find us!" They weren't just noise, they were promises of something waiting. "Stay close," Clara urged, glancing at Jake, who was frozen, eyes wide, lips trembling. He nodded, his small body curling towards her for comfort. She stepped out into the gloom, the ground beneath her feet gritty and uneven. The shadows pulsated like a living thing, coiling around her ankles, trying to pull her in. "Mom," Jake whispered, his voice barely audible against the chaos swirling around them. Clara's breathing quickened. "Just hold on to me," she said, forcing herself to sound steady. She reached out and grabbed Jake's hand, feeling the coldness seep into her skin. They stepped forward, the shadows parting slightly, teasing them with a path ahead. "Find us," the words wrapped around Clara, sending icy tendrils crawling down her spine. She couldn't shake the feeling they were being watched, that eyes were lurking just beyond her sight. She squinted into the darkness, trying to pierce the veil, but the shadows were relentless, hiding their truths. "I can't do this," Jake said, his voice cracking. "Please, Mom." "We have to know," Clara replied, her own doubt gnawing at her. As they moved deeper, the air thickened like a fog, wrapping around them, stifling. With every step, her stomach churned, sensing danger lurking in the folds of the night. Suddenly, Clara noticed something glistening where the shadows thickened, an object half buried in the dirt. As she drew closer, the darkness shifted, almost alive, as if it resented her intrusion. She knelt down, pulling the dirt away, and her breath caught in her throat. "Mom, what is it?" Jake asked, his small voice filled with a tremor of fear. "I don't know." Her fingers trembled as she flipped it open. Inside, a faded photo stared back, a woman and a child, both eerily familiar. Clara's stomach dropped, and her heart raced as cold realization washed over her. They looked remarkably like herself and Jake, but it was impossible. This couldn't be them. A shadow shifted behind her, and a low growl rumbled, reverberating through the air. Clara spun around, gripping the locket tightly. The shadows twisted and flowed around them, forming shapes that began to take form. A long-limbed silhouette with hollowed eyes, outstretched arms reaching for her. "Leave us alone!" Jake screamed, gripping Clara's leg. The words echoed in the air, chased by the sinister laughter of the shadows. "Find us, find us," the voices moaned, insistent and desperate. Clara's instincts kicked in. "We need to run!" she yelled, yanking Jake closer. As they turned to escape, the depth of the darkness seemed to close in, the shadows more aggressive now, like a flooded river about to swallow them whole. But just as they began to run, the earth dropped out from under them. The nagging roots of the emerging path broke. Clara stumbled, pulling Jake down with her, plunging into a void that felt endless. Blackness enveloped them, swallowing her screams. Sensations of being pulled in every direction tormented her. "Mom!" Jake's voice echoed hollowly, and panic seized her heart. She grasped at the air, but there was nothing solid to hold on to. The haunting whispers morphed into screams, a cacophony of terror clawing at her sanity. She couldn't tell up from down, confusion reigning over her mind. Then a blinding light pierced through the darkness, flaring before her. Clara felt herself being drawn towards it, a fragile hope igniting in her chest. It was a doorway, a glimmer of safety, or perhaps another trap. As she reached for Jake, the shadows hissed, their voices rising in a frenzy. "Find us! You can't escape!" Clara's heart thundered as she made a desperate choice, to leap towards the light, to confront whatever awaited her on the other side. Would they find refuge, or were they merely sealing their fate in a web of darkness? The light enveloped them as they collided into its warmth, but as quickly as it appeared, it flickered and dimmed. And then, silence. "What did we just step into?" Clara whispered, the foreboding grip of dread building anew. The stillness was deafening. Something was waiting for them. Then, in the heart of the dark, a chilling voice slithered through the silence. "You shouldn't have come here." What awaited Clara and Jake in this new realm? Would they truly find safety, or was this merely the beginning of their nightmares? Clara's senses reeled as the darkness solidified around them. It wasn't just a shadowy void, it had weight, suffocating the light. She looked around, eyes wide, but nothing in this murky realm offered answers or comfort. "Jake, are you okay?" The silence stretched, raw and ominous. Jake squeezed her hand, his small face pressed against her arm. "I can't see anything, Mom." His voice trembled with a fear that twisted Clara's heart. The air felt different here, crackling with a stagnant energy. Clara took a breath, struggling to muster the courage that felt so far away. "Let's keep moving," she urged, forcing her legs to take a shaky step forward. With each footfall, a whisper snaked around them again, wrapping tighter like a vine. "You shouldn't have come here." Clara's heart raced. "What does it mean?" she asked the void, but the answer came from somewhere closer, echoing through the darkness with a mocking tone. "It means you'll never turn back. Frantic, she glanced around, trying to pinpoint the source of the voice, but shadows danced too rapidly to discern. The feeling of being watched tightened like a vice around her chest. "Mom," Jake's voice quivered, "I don't like this." "Me neither, but we can't give up," Clara forced out as dread pulsed through her veins. In her heart, she realized they were being herded deeper into this twisted version of reality. They stumbled onwards, the path beneath their feet uneven, littered with debris that crunched underfoot like brittle bones. Clara shivered, the cold seeping through her clothes. And then, just ahead, light bled into the darkness, soft and ghostly, glistening like a beacon. Clara rushed towards it, adrenaline soured with trepidation. "Stay close!" In the cerulean glow, Clara spotted what looked like an abandoned playground, rusted but eerily filled with a haunting vibrancy. It was serene yet unsettling, as if trapped in a moment where time had long since dissolved. There were swings swaying on their chains, creaking gently as if inviting them to play. She approached a rusty slide, its peaks twisting like clawed fingers toward a sickly pale moon hanging overhead. "Mom, what's that?" Jake's voice quivered, pointing at a figure lingering just beyond the light. Clara squinted, heart racing. A woman stood there, clothes flowing like shadows around her. Her hair was long and dark, concealing much of her face. But Clara could feel her eyes, piercing, searching. "Help us," she whispered, her voice so soft yet filled with a chilling urgency. "Who are you?" Clara called out, a thread of fear wrapping around each word. "Find us," the woman echoed, her form flickering like an old film reel. Clara recoiled, glancing back at Jake, whose eyes were wide, fear glossing over his small face. "I don't want to go near her." Before she could respond, the whispers intensified, filling the air with a ravenous hum. Out of the shadows, more figures emerged, all staring at her, mouths moving, but only the haunting phrase filled the air. "You shouldn't have come here." They were all around, faces pale and gaunt, tethered by some unseen force. Clara's breath hitched. "This isn't real. This can't be happening." She pulled Jake back, but cold fingers scraped against her ankle, anchoring her to the moment. "Mom, run!" Jake screamed, terror spilling from his eyes as he struggled to escape the clutching shadows. Without thinking, Clara yanked him free, bolting away from the figures that reached for them, their sounds drowning in the chaos of their terror. "Run, Jake!" The laughter and whispers melded into a horrible symphony, echoing
her name, mocking her with every step. As they barreled deeper into the enchanted gloom, the playground began to warp behind them, its ghostly light dimming rapidly, consumed by the voracious dark. Then, without warning, a hard surface met Clara's foot, a shift in the ground that felt wrong. She stumbled, falling over what looked like a broken statue half buried in the dirt. The marble hand was clenched, hiding something beneath it, and Clara couldn't ignore the feeling. "Mom, please!" Jake cried, his voice breaking through the cacophony. Clara's fingers brushed the cold stone, and a rush of energy surged through her. "Jake, hold on!" she yelled, but her heart sank. What had she awakened? As she clutched her son tight, the shadows began to shift and pulse, coiling around the two of them. A different whisper threaded through once more. "You're ours now." A new fear twisted in Clara's gut. Just as she felt like she was losing her grip on reality, the fractured laughter echoed. "Now, come play." Would they escape this twisted realm, or had they stepped into their own doom? The darkness had teeth, and Clara was beginning to feel them. The next choice lay ahead, but what would they have to sacrifice to find their way back? As Clara's fingers wrapped around the cold stone, the whispers surged, swelling into a deafening wall of sound. It felt like the shadows were closing in, tightening their grip around her and Jake. That energy, once stagnant, now pulsed with a kind of horror that made Clara's skin crawl. "Mom, we have to go," Jake pleaded, his voice barely breaking through the madness. "I know, baby, I know," she shouted, clutching his hand tighter, feeling the warmth of his small palm against her, a fragile anchor in the storm of darkness. With incredible effort, Clara yanked her foot free from the statue's grip, stumbling backward as the whispers became a cacophony of laughter and cries. The shadows flickered around her, menacing and hungry. They swirled, taunting her with half-formed faces that disappeared as quickly as they came. Each laugh felt like a knife, slicing through Clara's resolve. "Mom, run!" Jake's scream pierced the air again, pulling Clara towards the relative safety of what seemed to be a path. The ground beneath them shifting, a grotesque mimicry of a road, blowing with hot and cold gusts. Clara bolted forward, terror coursing through her veins as she tore through the twilight mist. Their surroundings morphed with every step, the playground fading into a more sinister landscape. Now, the shadows drew back slightly, revealing a barren grove filled with gnarled trees, their trunks twisted like the bodies of the lost. The pale moon shone above them, its light cold and unforgiving. "Where do we go?" Jake cried out, desperation lacing his voice. "Just keep moving," Clara urged, scanning for a hint of salvation, any sign of escape. But every direction seemed equally suffocating, the darkness relentless. Ahead, a flicker caught her eye. Clara pounced towards it, heart racing. Could it be an exit? As they approached, the glow pulsated, revealing what looked like an ancient archway overgrown with thorns and vines. The light seemed almost alive, breathing, and Clara felt a mixture of hope and dread wash over her. "Mom, please don't," Jake whimpered, gripping her waist. Clara hesitated, glancing down at her son's tear-streaked face. She felt it too, the pull of the archway against her skin like a magnet of temptation. But when she looked back up, something shifted in the air. A shadow broke from the arch, elongating at unnatural angles. "Help us," a voice drifted, this time rising above the whispers, a mesmerizing chant from something just beyond the light. Shadows poured out like tendrils, searching, seeking. The voices of the lost were sharper now, thick with urgency. "Get away from it!" Clara shouted, yanking Jake back as the shadow lunged. They spun around and sprinted, the archway of light flickering behind them, threatening to vanish. "Mom, I can't keep running," Jake gasped, fatigue dragging at his small legs. "Just a little longer," Clara urged. But beneath that frantic insistence, doubt gnawed at her. They couldn't just keep fleeing aimlessly. This place had devoured hope like a hollow creature, laughing with every desperation they displayed. Then, as if answering her unspoken thoughts, the ground quaked, and the shadows formed a wall ahead, coiling into a living barricade. Clara halted, heart pounding against her ribs. They were trapped. "Clara," a whisper slithered from the dark figures surrounding them. "Join us." "Mom," Jake trembled, his voice barely a whisper. Clara felt a bead of sweat slide down her back. "No!" she screamed, but the shadows surged, hungry and unrelenting. Behind them, the sound of laughter grew louder, more deranged. The once soft whispers morphed into 1,000 jeering voices, drowning Clara's mind with dread. She felt the wave of despair cresting, threatening to crash over her. An image flashed before her eyes, the playground again, its bright colors gleaming in the void. Children laughing harmoniously. Clara's heart seized. What if the way back meant recreating that joy? A sickening thought took shape. The price for returning might cost them everything. Suddenly, the archway pulsated brighter, and Clara caught a sliver of an option. "Jake, we have to try! To the light!" she shouted, pulling him toward the fading entrance, hoping it would save them from this nightmare.
But even as they ran, the darkness lunged, shadows twisting around them tight as chains. The laughter crescendoed, echoing Clara's name with torturous glee. Now, come play. What awaited them in the light? Each step felt heavier, suffocated by a premonition. A choice loomed just ahead. Would they step into the light and risk it all, or surrender to the darkness that beckoned so sweetly? Clara's breath came in sharp gasps, desperation igniting her limbs as she yanked Jake forward. The pulsating light of the archway seemed to throb with every heartbeat, a siren song luring them away from
the clutches of the relentless shadows behind. The cacophony of laughter echoed louder, lost souls mocking them, taunting them with every inch they gained. "Keep running," Clara shouted, her voice raw with determination as they surged toward the light. With every frantic step, the shadows clawed at their heels, hungry for what had eluded them for so long. Clara could feel their cold presence wrapping tighter, the weight of despair begging her to submit. But she tightened her grip around Jake's hand, a lifeline tethering her to the will to survive. She could not lose him, not like this. "Mom, I'm scared!" Jake's voice broke through the storm of chaos wrapping around them. Clara turned just once, heart racing, only to be met with a wave of twisted, gnarled faces, each contorted in expressions of sorrow and rage. She felt a shudder ripple through her. This was not just darkness. It was the embodiment of all the pain and secrets Maplewood harbored. But now, they were here. This was their moment. The archway loomed closer, a beacon of hope struggling against the gloom. Clara could feel it pulsing with energy that called to her, whispering promises of salvation. As they dashed into the archway's embrace, a blinding light enveloped them, and she could no longer hear the twisted laughter, nor feel the chilling breath of shadows. In an instant, they stumbled forward, landing on solid ground. Clara blinked against the sudden starkness of their surroundings. They were back at the edge of Maplewood, not in the cemetery, but the town square that had once felt so familiar. The trees stood sentinel, their branches glimmering as dawn broke over the horizon. "Is it over?" Jake whispered, his small frame quaking against her side. Clara's heart swelled with relief, but it was laced with fresh anxiety. I think so," she murmured, looking around, half expecting the shadows to emerge from the corners again. But the square was quiet. Looking down, Clara caught sight of the locket in her hand. Its cool metal glinted in the morning light, a reminder of everything they had just faced. "What do you think this means?" she wondered aloud. Jake stared up at her, uncertainty dancing in his eyes. "Are we safe now?" Clara took a deep breath, the weight of the previous night heavy in her lungs. I think so," she murmured, looking around, half expecting the shadows to emerge from the corners again. But the square was quiet. Looking down, Clara caught sight of the locket in her hand. Its cool metal glinted in the morning light, a reminder of everything they had just faced. "What do you think this means?" she wondered aloud. Jake stared up at her, uncertainty dancing in his eyes. "Are we safe now?" Clara took a deep breath, the weight of the previous night heavy in her lungs. I think the truth has come to light." Their experiences had woven threads of fear and courage, but they wouldn't let Maplewood's past dictate their future. Suddenly, a figure appeared, silhouetted against the dawn. It was Sheriff Thompson, walking toward them with an urgency that sent a chill through her. "Clara! Jake!" he shouted, his voice a mix of relief and concern. "What happened?" Clara's heart hardened a bit. He was still the one who had let her down before. But for Jake's sake, she forced the tension from her shoulders. "We need to talk about the other children," she said, steeling herself against whatever excuses he might offer. The sheriff hesitated, running a hand over his weary face,
I know I haven't done right by the people of this town. But we can fix that, he said, his voice trembling slightly. Let's bring the truth to light together. Clara looked at Jake, who watched them with wide eyes. This could be the dawning of something new, a reckoning. Then let's start now, she insisted, determination burning in her chest. They were no longer running. They were standing firm, ready to confront the specters of Maplewood's past. As the three of them walked forward together, Clara felt a sense of hope sprout within her. The weight of fear lightened, inch by inch. The shadows had drawn close, but in the battle between darkness and light, they had chosen to resist. And as the sun lifted higher, the first rays illuminating the streets of Maplewood, Clara knew they could start again. The forgotten names and faces, the lost and sorrowful, would no longer be buried. Instead, they would be honored, bringing love and remembrance where there had once been only pain. Whatever trials lay ahead, Clara felt a resolve settle deep within her. She would ensure Jake grew up knowing not just sorrow, but resilience and bravery. As they moved deeper into town's new dawn, a breath of fresh air rushed around them, carrying away the final remnants of despair. Maplewood could heal, and together they would reclaim the legacy of love in the place once cloaked in darkness. And just like that, as a new chapter began, Clara whispered to the morning light, "It's time." You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss out on the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending.